Welcome back, Teen CMOs. I hope your surveys would be ready by now. In your surveys, I hope the questions are not too lengthy. They are short, crisp, to the point. They have called and referred to everything that has been discussed so far and what and how you need to analyze the market. Next, we're going to talk about the marketing communications. But before beginning, you have to upload the same survey over your social media platforms to get better responses. I hope you must have crossed the deadline of 100 by now. Let's reach up to 200 and share it with the hashtag of Henry Harvin over your social media platforms. Receive great results. All the best. Talking about marketing communication, also known as Marcom, what do you understand by this? So when we're talking about marketing communication, it is a fundamental but complex part of a company's marketing effort. It can be described as all the messages and media that one CMO has to deploy in order to communicate with the market. Do you believe that communicating with the market is ideally important? Yes, definitely it is, because we need to have a message that goes clear and consistent to the market. Marketing communication includes advertising, direct marketing, branding, packaging, online presence, printed materials, PR activities, sales presentations, sponsorships, trade show appearance, etc. The complexity of marketing communication topics makes it too broad to be talked about in one single go. So herein, when we are talking about marketing communication, let's outline the basics of it. First, we need to talk about positioning. Positioning are the ins and outs and the important claiming of the most attractive position, of gaining the most attractive position in your customer's mind. Next, your marketing message. It should be clear, it should be consistent, and it should be focused. The marketing communication for tech startups, especially when we are talking about, they are the process and the methods to develop word of mouth marketing in the marketplace as a whole. Marketing communications reaching early adapters of technological product, which focuses on both how as well as the why part. And you should tailor your message for the technology enthusiasts as well as the visionaries. A successful market communication across the chasm and in the bowling alley that explains the tactic that will help you cross the chasm. So here, while we are talking about all these things, let's understand what are objectives behind doing this activity. Why do you think we should go for marketing communication? Yes, the first and foremost requirement is that we have to create and sustain demand and preference for the product. And the other objective is to shorten the sales cycle. Right now, if the sales cycle is too big, we need to shorten it. When we are talking about creating of the preferences, we are talking about the long-term aim, and we are focusing the communication tools to help position the product or the service in the minds of the targeted customers. You start seeing an advertisement on the television, and the first thing that we think of is buying that product. So they create a kind of utility through these advertisements, through these print media, through appearing again and again on the social media, that the customer feels the urge of buying it. You must have seen those sales advertisements from Amazon and Flipkart appearing again and again during the festive season. The reason that they have been reiterated and they appear every 5-7 minutes on the social media, on your television, is to create that kind of preference in your mind. Positioning and building a brand takes time and it requires a certain consistency. But here, when we are talking about all these things, the communication efforts have to be great. And the core element of this communication has to be focused on the product, the pricing, as well as the distribution of the product. Therefore, it represents a significant commitment for the company. While establishing preference for building a brand will impact the market share, its profitability, and even the access for talent. People would want to join your organization because they've heard a lot about it. And thus, it provides long-term value for the company. When we are talking about all these things, let's understand what the sales cycle is. I know you had this question in mind that when we talked about the objectives, what do you mean by shortening the sales cycle? Shortening the sales cycles means assisting your sales and channel partners in their efforts to identify, engage, and deliver a customer. Understanding the customer's buying process brings critical insight into how one can shorten the sales cycle. When we are talking about shortening the sales cycle, let's first understand the buying process. First, I need to understand what problems is my customer facing. How will I identify this? I will have to do a lot of researches. I will have to ask questions. Next, when this problem arises, the customer starts looking out for things in the market. Then he or she makes a purchase decision. The purchase decision is ideally made on multiple factors: the brand, the price, the quantity, the packaging, how famous is the brand. So in this entire process, if I have to shorten the process, I know what the problem my customer is facing. How do I make sure that my brand appears again and again in front of the customer eyes and the customer realizes that this is how or what the product and service I need? Definitely. When we are talking about advertisements, we are talking about engaging the customers into one or the other acts which makes my customer engaged with my product. Or the customer sees the product and imagines that this is thing that I was looking for. So while we are talking about all this thing, I hope that marketing communications are clear to everybody.